Hello, everyone. Extremely excited to be here at ExpoCripto. This is Emilio Rivero, Head of Product at Bitso, and I'm extremely excited for the next conversation we're going to have. We have a very special guest for today's episode. We have Nicolas Cabrera, who's the VP of Product at Lightspark, a partner of Bitso, and we're extremely excited for the conversation we're going to have with him about Lightning and a lot of things around Lightning. So, Nicolas, welcome.
Thank you. Very excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Of course, it's a pleasure. We've been very excited for this conversation because we've been talking about crypto the entire day. We've been talking about Bitcoin, we've been talking about stablecoins, and now we want to deep dive into a very specific part of the crypto industry. So there's no one better to tell us a little bit about this than you, Nicolas, and your team who are building incredible things on top of Bitcoin. I would love to start by going a little bit backwards and asking you the question, what is Lightning? Why do you think it's important? And why does it have so much value for potential users?
Yeah, absolutely. We have a vision at Lightspark, which is really to help creating this open payment network that has no borders. You know, we know for too long money has been living with borders. Either sending money from one app to another has been challenging. Sending money from one country to another, as we know, sending Mexican pesos to someone in the US, for example, who wants to receive US dollars in a local bank account, has been a challenge. I was watching some of your evolution of money, in a room next door, and it's really fascinating the way we all evolve our online experience, with the internet, and content can really travel and flow on the internet very natively, very efficiently, cheap and fast, but money hasn't catch up yet. And that's where Lightning, we feel at Lightspark, can become a critical layer in creating more modern, more sophisticated payment infrastructure that will allow this more open payment network. Why Lightning? It's a critical layer. We feel it's just the right layer to build on to create that settlement layer, which is always open, that is truly neutral and decentralized, that can help money moving from any countries to any countries instantly and very fast and very cheap. As you know, layer 2, I can go a bit deeper in why layer 2 and why Lightning. Layer 2 is Lightning is a layer 2 on top of Bitcoin, and Bitcoin from the beginning has been designed to help these interoperable payments, across two individuals, across companies, going forward, maybe across, AI agents, with the world we're going into. Bitcoin is great because it's the truly decentralized layer, to build on top of. We strongly believe at Lightspark, the only truly open, neutral asset that will facilitate these money movement. But there are some limitations to Bitcoin, especially from a payment point of view.
Of course.
One is scalability. It can take some time to manage multiple millions of transactions on chain. And the other one is the velocity, the times it takes to actually complete those transactions when a lot of them happen on chain. And that's where layer 2 and Lightning comes in. It has been designed to address those limitations. And on Lightning, because of the way we manage and process transactions, which a lot of them happen off-chain, it allows for small amount, large amounts, millions of transactions that can happen very fast across multiple currencies.
That's incredible, and I love hearing that. And what's very interesting about Lightning is that you are transacting on top of the Bitcoin network. So whenever you open a channel and whenever you start transacting, or you're basically using Bitcoin as a currency in which you're doing the payments.
Yes.
But you're at the same time you're sourcing that liquidity to make the payments from the Bitcoin network, but at the same time you have other properties which are way more efficient for other things, right?
Exactly. You mentioned, building on top of Bitcoin. And we believe in the value of stable coins, as you mentioned. There's been a big topic today. But fundamentally, we believe that building on Bitcoin, when you're creating new infrastructure like Bitso is creating, like we are creating at Lightspark, to help those money movements globally, building on Bitcoin is the right asset for some of the points that I mentioned. So you get all of the benefit of Bitcoin with the speed, the velocity, the scalability of Lightning that then can access any wallet, any bank account. Either they can engage with Bitcoin and crypto, or if they cannot, for regulatory reasons, abstract the Bitcoin layer and make that usable by any regulatory or regulated financial institutions.
I love that. And Lightning has been on the market for a few years, and I think it's very complex for some people and even for institutions. And I think here's where Lightspark and companies like Bitso play a huge role. How would you say that the market has meet the expectations of how you can implement Lightning, and how companies like Lightspark are trying to make that easier?
Yeah. Thanks for saying that. Building on Lightning, for all the benefits that I just mentioned, brings some level of complexity that probably prevent Lightning so far to be more mainstream. And that's where Lightspark come in. We're one of the enterprise-grade Lightning tech implementation company, working with Bitso and others, to really make the implementation and enabling Lightning to all of your users as simple as possible. We take the complexity of creating a lot of those channels that you mentioned, doing a lot of the liquidity rebalancing that needs to happen on the network to make sure that we process successfully most of the transactions happening on that network. That's where Lightspark became very strong at. We have a very deep technical knowledge of Lightning with our engineering team, and we've been spending the last 18 months, 2 years to make it as easy as possible for partners like Bitso and others to enable Lightning within their own ecosystem. We have a couple of implementation, depending on the level of security, risk, and what makes the most sense for our partners to implement Lightning. So that's where we focus our time on. It's just an easy SDK and API type integration, and then we abstract a lot of that complexity for our partners. And that's why we're seeing some good traction, beyond Bitso and the rollouts that you're in the middle of doing. We're doing together, by the end of the year, enabling Lightning to all of your users, which is really exciting. We have a number of partners that we announce globally in LATAM, in the US, with Coinbase, that now have turned on Lightning, supported by Lightspark, to all of their users that want to move, withdraw or deposit Bitcoin into the Coinbase wallet in the US. And we have a number of partners in Europe, in Asia, and in Africa as well.
That's incredible. And here I would like to add that Bitcoin continues to be, and this is what we see in our user base, it continues to be the largest holding of crypto assets in the platform.
Yeah.
Would you say that combined with this being the first time that Lightning is in the hands of that many consumers, because once we do our full rollout, we're going to have a Lightning network accessible to 8 million consumers instantly. So we're talking about truly creating scale and the reach for Lightning Network for the first time. So would you say that combination gives you the right formula to see incredible stuff?
100%. You're really combining the power of Bitcoin, as we know, and a lot of your users hold Bitcoin into their portfolio. And then you are leveraging Lightning to address some of the limitation of Bitcoin when it comes to money movement and depositing or withdrawing Bitcoin easily from and to your wallet. So the combination of the two and enabling that into your portfolio, I think it's very powerful. And we see some good volume of users, now that they're discovering that they can move Bitcoin without incurring large L1 fees, that we all know.
One of the biggest complaints that we have.
Exactly. And that's where Lightning becomes very handy. And that's why you're rolling this out to your users, because now you can move your Bitcoin instantly and very cost effective.
And how do you see, we understand, and it's very impressive what Lightning can achieve and what it cannot.
Yep.
We see some limitations maybe in what the layer 2 can do. How do you see that maybe for potential customers or more on on a daily use basis, how that could potentially work on life of consumers?
Yeah, I think one of the key focus we have at Lightspark is to really help our partners like Bitso to drive user adoption and make it as easy as possible for users to benefit from Bitcoin and Lightning without even knowing it sometimes. So one way to do that is to work on the user experience and making sure that you don't need to educate your user in different ways. They're already moving Lightning currently, moving Bitcoins into your portfolio. Now Lightning will be just another way to do that, a lot more easier and faster. And it's just an easy prompt within your wallet to educate them about the benefit of Lightning. We see some other partners creating some of those great experiences to drive adoption of Lightning. And as soon as you try it and you realize you can move it instantly, you don't incur as many fees, then that's how we get organic adoption of Lightning.
And in terms of cost reduction, we're talking about orders of magnitude and the reduction in fees, right?
Yes. It's especially right now, we're in an environment where incurring L1 fees can be prohibited for a lot of users. Moving money off chain and Bitcoin off chain that Lightning largely allow, or to leverage the chain just when we need to, significantly reduce the cost. So we're talking very small bips to move Bitcoin, being small amounts or large amounts of money, which is really exciting as well. For too long, we know that moving just a small amount of Bitcoin wasn't really efficient because of a lot of the fees involved. Now you can decide for whatever your users decide to. You decide to move smaller amounts, larger amounts, and you don't really worry about it because you can do it efficiently with the combo of Bitcoin and Lightning.
That's incredible. And just taking 2 steps back, I would like to ask you the question of why do you think the mission of building on top of Bitcoin is so important? You mentioned that it's a truly neutral network,
yep.
But would love to hear more about that.
Yeah, thanks for asking this question. We spend a lot of time at Lightspark reviewing what would be the most efficient way to support those money movement more efficiently, which is our core mission. And early on, we have strong conviction that Bitcoin is the right layer to build on, largely for 3 main reasons. It's open, it's truly decentralized, and it's neutral. And we can make that pretty liquid as well with some of the implementation that we bring when we're combining that to Lightning. So very early on, we believed that building on Bitcoin was the right decisions. But we also know that Bitcoin may have some limitation. So you may have heard that last week we had a large partner event that we hosted in our home ground in LA, Los Angeles, California, in the US, where we announced an extension, a new L2, called Spark that is designed to address some of those limitations of Bitcoin. Lightning addresses the scalability and velocity, and we talked about that. And Spark will also address 2 other use cases that maybe Bitcoin sometimes isn't great for. One is stablecoins. So issuing on Bitcoin, stablecoins on Bitcoin can be expensive and complicated. This new L2 that we announced help addressing that complexity. As well as turning on Bitcoin and Lightning to non-custodial wallets, which is that additional extension, L2 Spark, that we announced last week, and Bitso were part of the event. We're really excited about it. And now we believe with the combination of Bitcoin, Lightning, and going forward this new extension of L2, we're creating the most open and the most efficient open money payment infrastructure.
And when you're saying about a new L2 built on top of Bitcoin, Spark,
yeah.
This means that this new L2 will also use Bitcoin as the asset.
Absolutely. It's fully compatible with Bitcoin and Lightning for the benefit that we mentioned. But we listen to our partners, and some of our partners that have users leveraging self-custody, non-custodial wallets. They also wanted to get access to the benefits of Lightning, and that's what Spark is designed to do.
So in this sense, companies like us who offer custodial wallets for customers where we're custodying Bitcoin for us, we would be doing much of the heavy lifting and Lightspark in order to do the implementations necessary for Lightning to be able to work.
Yep.
But then it would be easier for other customers or companies to implement on the new L2?
Absolutely. The partnership that we have in place and that we're rolling out starting with Lightning by the end of the year, the end of the quarter, it will make it very easy for other partners and other users to then, leveraging that combination. And then once we discuss, how to then extend to the Spark capabilities, your partners will benefit from that as well.
That's amazing. And I really like how this plays such an important role in bringing to life other types of products.
Yep.
And there's something really incredible that you're building a Lightspark that I would love to hear a little bit more about, which is UMA.
Yep.
And it's fully interoperable with the other Lightning products.
Absolutely.
You have. But would love to hear what is UMA and what is the purpose it's trying to serve.
Yes, some of you may have heard about UMA that we announced at the end of last year. UMA stands for the Universal Money Address, which is an open standard protocol that we help designing at Lightspark, and is really designed to help address some of the points that you raised previously, Emilio, around user adoption and making sure that we create the most seamless experience, for your users and users anywhere around the world. What is UMA? UMA, as I said, is an open standard protocol that really much, for some of you that might know the technical specs behind it, it's an extension of the LN URL, that is required to be able to manage P2P, interoperable payments on Lightning. But it's an extension to address compliance, regulatory, and tax purpose. So we believe that anyone going forward will have a UMA-enabled wallet, and will become an UMA-enabled users. So it's just an email address, but for money. So it's a human-readable address, like we all, share Gmail or various email schemes. So the way it looks, it's a $ Emilio@bitso.com, for example, and I can be $ Nicholas@coinbase.com. And by exchanges those money address, it just make it very easy for the sending financial institutions and the receiving financial institutions or exchanges or wallets to exchange information pre-transaction. So having that handshake pre-transactions, which is required, when you want to manage large amounts of money movement, especially from regulated entities. And once those information have been exchanged, each sending and receiving institutions are comfortable with that transactions, then the transaction can be processed on Lightning, and that's Lightning. UMA works on Lightning Rails behind it. It just makes it easy for exchanges, wallets, financial institutions, as well as any UMA-enabled users to adopt and drive money movement cross-border or cross UMA-enabled wallets.
Many of us that have been in the crypto ecosystem for a few years have always on top of our minds what we're trying to solve. No? Like many of us are mission driven.
Yep.
And I think the mission many of us are trying to solve is sending money through the internet is hard.
Yep.
For some reason, we've managed to make information easy accessible for the entire world, but moving economic value, and we were talking about economic value as like money as a representation of economic value.
Yep.
Through the internet continues to be very cumbersome and very limiting in some countries. And the way I see Lightning is that we're basically grabbing an asset which has tremendous power, and we're empowering it to really deliver what we're trying to build.
Absolutely. And when you combine the power of Lightning and Bitcoin, as well as UMA, that I just helped describe. It's the perfect stack to help those money movements cross-border. So now you can imagine a world, and not just imagine it because it's actually real with some of our partners. That's why we're really excited to talk about it. I can be a user, let's say in Brazil, who wants to send from my local app, wants to send Brazilian real to my friend or my kids that happen to study maybe in the US. Currency there. So not only Lightning can be efficient to help moving Bitcoin, but also fiat to fiat money movement. So in that flow, it could be, you can imagine where I'm sending 100 Brazilian real because I'm sitting in Brazil from my local wallet, exchange, or bank account that is enabling with Lightning and enabling with UMA. I'm sending to another UMA user in the US, in this case, my kids or my friends, and then they can receive converting Brazilian real to sats, sats, Bitcoin, travel on Lightning to the US, and then can get converted back into USD if the receiver entity or user wants to receive USD in the US. That can happen instantly, fiat to a local endpoint in that country, and with very limited fees. So it can be very efficient.
And when you start talking about this, I see very interesting how Lightning on one side is meeting what the customers and the final users need, and on the other side you have UMA, which is also helping other institutions meet their needs, right? Exactly. One of the big complaints I've heard from financial institutions around the world is, well, I can't use crypto because it's not fully. It's very hard to share information about what the customers are, who's the beneficiary, and I think that's how you're meeting the regulatory requirements, right?
Exactly. UMA and the UMA protocol has been designed exactly with that in mind. We live in countries like either in Mexico or in the US that have complex regulatory landscapes when it comes to crypto. And we do want to work with fully regulated entity, some that can engage with crypto, and we have solutions for that. Some, to your point, that cannot, for regulatory reason, engage and be directly touching crypto. Lightning can be totally abstracted for those partners. UMA handle all of their regulatory needs. If travel rules is involved for that transaction, it's covered as part of the UMA protocol. Hence, we're really excited about it. We're having more and more financial entities all around the world adopting UMA for that exact reason, because they cannot engage with crypto, but they still want the benefit of instant and cost-effective money movement.
And I would love to ask you, where, from your perspective, where do you see the most adoption and the most growth coming? When we started having this conversation, we quickly mentioned that there's been a lot of buzz around stablecoins for the past few months. Yep. But I think we need to start giving Lightning the attention that it deserves, right?
100%. I'm fully with you there. There's a role for stablecoins, obviously, and there's a role for Lightning. And we see a strong adoption, especially here in Mexico and more broadly in LATAM. We announced a few partners, in addition to Bitso, with Ripio, with Nubank. We have a strong presence of people that believe in, bringing to market more efficient Bitcoin and money movement, across countries, across apps. We all see the value of Lightning, and that's why we're all in various stages of rolling out the benefit of Lightning. And then when you add UMA on top of it, that really makes it a fully complete solution to help financial institutions, exchanges, wallets to create those pretty magical experiences. So LATAM, Mexico, LATAM, very strong adoption. We're going to have, by the end of this year, globally, we're going to have about 300 million UMA-enabled endpoints in the network, fastly growing. We keep adding more partners into the network. And the Lightning endpoint is really fastly growing as well, from small or large financial institutions.
I was talking to the team earlier, and I was talking about the discussions the team is having with the Lightspark team, and they're very excited about the current rollout. We're going to be deploying to our users for the next few months, yep. So that by the end of the year, our 8 million customers are going to have access to Lightning.
Yep.
that means they're going to be able to transact with basically fees of zero, right?
Yes. Yep.
On the Lightning Network.
Yep.
And we're also very excited about the other conversations that we're having with the Lightspark team around what else can we offer to our customers.
Absolutely. I think it's obvious that we share a very similar vision. And all the success you have, you've been running for a lot longer than us. But we're super excited, for the partnership, exposing the benefit of Lightning to 8 million users. We're gonna learn on how to best create the most magical experience together. But I think I'm super excited to see your customers seeing, the magic of what I'm seeing in the US, for example, with some of other exchanges and other wallets that integrated Lightning, and see how instant and very cheap it can be. And then, yes, we'll have additional discussion that, I'm sure at some point, I'm happy to come back to talk about.
Yeah, we're very excited to be able to have this conversation in ExpoCripto, which is our celebration of our 10-year anniversary.
Yes.
And it's really exciting. Once you release the products and you start getting the feedback from the customers, you start learning on what the customer pain points were actually, and what the new products are solving. Yep. We, as I mentioned, one of the biggest complaints we've been having is that Lightning, by the end of the year, in partnership with Lightspark, and start seeing what the reaction from our users is, because I'm extremely convinced that many of our users are going to be really happy with the new fees and the speed of which they're going to be able to transact.
Absolutely, and I'm sure we're going to learn, to your point, along the way, but it's been so excited to work with your product team, with your tech team, to bring this to life. Obviously, you have 10 years of massive respect with your users. You know how to, what they're looking for. And we're just sitting here to help you with addressing some of those pain points, being fees, being the time it takes sometimes to transact. And that's where Lightspark can really help. So the combination, of Bitso and, your strong engagements with users, and then what we can help with some of our technology is really exciting.
And in that sense, you mentioned that you're going to be available to 300 million users. That means that any of the users that have access to Lightning wallets are going to be able to transact with those 300 million wallets, right?
Exactly. Once we work with our partners, being exchanges, being wallets, being financial institution, bank accounts, and we enable them on Lightning, enable them on UMA, like these 300 million UMA-enabled wallets we're going to get by the end of this year. Anyone that are part of this network will be able to send or receive from each other or to each other. And that's what we mean by this open payment network. It's fully regulated transactions, but made super easy for all of our users, collectively as part of this network. It's a more open network. It works across currencies. We support more than 100 currencies already. It works for Bitcoin, money movement. And going forward with some of the extension we talked about, it's going to work for custodial and non-custodial wallets, as well as also stablecoins issuer that wants to access this network and be able to issue stablecoins on top of Bitcoin and Lightning.
What is fascinating is that this is meeting many of the objectives that the crypto industry has, and it's doing it in a way that allows it to be seamless and allows it to be extremely user experience, which has been a tremendous pain point for the entire industry.
Yes, absolutely. We sometimes wonder why, once we started engaging with Lightning, why it hasn't been more popular. And I think part of it is the complexity of building on Lightning. User adoption is sometimes challenging. And then when you have fully regulated financial institutions, it's complex to enable Lightning and build on top of crypto. So I think with everything we just discussed, making it very easy to integrate Lightning, making it easy for users to adopt Lightning and Lightning transaction through the UMA protocol, and making sure that all the regulatory requirements are captured and considered as part of the protocol. I think we're addressing most of the pain points that users or partners have, and that's why now, in the next few weeks, few months, with all of those partners joining the network, it's going to be very exciting, the type of use cases we're going to be able to see and work together on.
That's incredible. And I still remember, I think it was 2019 when I did my first Lightning transaction.
Yep.
We were at the office and we were just like, how can we try it? And we started doing Lightning transactions between the people at the office.
Yep.
And when I did my transaction, I was like, it was called the Lightning Torch in the office.
Yep.
And when I did my first transaction, I was like, is this true? Like,
Yep.
can it be possible that the transactions are so fast
Yep.
and so cheap?
Yep.
And it is. It is
Yep.
fully true. And I think we're going to spoil the customers. Once they start testing how it feels to transact on Lightning, it's hard to go back.
Absolutely, absolutely. I share, and everyone at Lightspark, and I know at Bitso, share the same excitement. So cannot wait to get all of your users on it, and then learn from it, and see how easy, cheap, and efficient it can be to move money.
This has been a super interesting conversation, Nicholas. It's extremely exciting to have our partner here with us.
Yep.
We're super excited about what we're going to be releasing to our customers, and even more excited to see how they react and to continue offering them more products and partnership with you.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. Love these conversations. Super excited to what's ahead with Bitso, and this partnership is really critical to us. So very excited. Thank you.
Of course, and I hope you really enjoyed your time in Mexico City. Thank you, everyone who's in the streaming. I appreciate your time. And Nicholas, anything else that you would like to add?
No, I'm super excited to what's ahead, in Mexico, and then more generally globally. So thank you.
Of course, it's a pleasure.
Thanks.